is because you learn things. For
Yeah.
me, I write to learn things. I don't write to teach
Hmm.
things.
Hmm.
And so I learned a lot from this book.
Yeah.
So that's why I wrote it. And then later, now the story, when I turn around and say, how is it useful in the world? Like,
Mhm.
so no one else cares that I had this great process writing it, but like, you actually have to get something
Well,
out of
we do
it.
here because
Well,
we're like writing nerds, but normally I get it, right? In the room.
right. But like, what is the use of this book? Is it seems already the people who I know who have read it, and I know that they're being honest with me because they're friends and family.
Yeah.
Um, it seems that it has a different impact on each different person, but generally the impact is kind of waking you up to your own truth,
Hmm.
waking like to the real depth of that in a very safe way. So not like you're an asshole and you should figure that out. Like we
Right.
get too much of that. Like, oh, put this on your list of things to do. Put this on your
Hmm.
list of things. That's not what this is.
Hmm.
This is like there's this beautiful truth inside each of us and more than one
Yeah.
about who we are. And it's kind of like an experiential process of what am I doing with my hand? I guess it's like
Yeah.
pulling that up
Yeah.
with each chapter. So I think
Yes.
that's why I wrote it.
So beautiful. And so anyone that, again, if you all haven't read it yet, this is your first, intro to it. And I'll be reading some sections from Julia's book. But disclosure, right? We think of, oh, again, is it UFOs? Is it conspiracy? And Julia, you talk about an inspiracy. And I really like that concept in the book. So those of us that maybe we enjoy conspiracy theories, they're kind of fun. But the idea of inspiracy, right, Julia, that's what you're inviting us into. Like, what if we kept hidden from ourselves? What has universal love maybe kept hidden for us until it's the right time? And in the right moment, the right, a time we know is an illusion through Julia's work too in some ways, but it can we can be using it in many different aspects. But the idea of an inspiracy, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to say anything else about inspiracy versus conspiracy?
Yes, it came to me like everything else. And I thought, this is the opposite of a conspiracy. The conspiracy is there's all these like other people who aren't you who are working together to do something that's generally bad or you think of as bad.
Right.
And and they have somehow more power than you do. And it sucks and like it's a
Right.
disaster. And what can we do? We feel helpless. An inspiracy comes from inside of you. That's the in part, but it's also inspired
Mm-hmm.
by your connection to love. And it comes to you and comes out of you. It's like if the arrow's going in and the arrow's going out, and the arrow's going in and the arrow's going out. And so there's no other to get concerned about, like they're the bad people who are doing the bad thing, and now I feel helpless because the bad people are doing the bad thing.
Yeah.
It's really about the internal power that we all have. And we hear mystics talk about, we hear visionaries talk about this power, but how do we access it? Like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? And so, and that's where the inspiracy comes from. Like, this is the inspiracy is to, it's one of the editorial reviews said, that I put on Amazon said, it's a Copernican flip. We kept placing disclosure in the power of someone else. And
Mm-hmm.
then we find that it's here. And each one of us has the power to disclose. And in fact, that's what creates power in the world, like
Yeah.
soft power, like power that actually could
Yeah.
lead towards peace, could lead towards goodness, could ingest love and produce hope.
Mm.
So yeah.
So beautiful. I love, is anyone loving the inspiracy? It's like what we have inside ourselves that we can disclose first and foremost, right? We're disclosing to ourselves. And Julie, you kind of intro that in the book. You have this second person address to us as the reader. You're standing at the sink and this, like what is the disclosure that each of us might get to make? What is the inspiracy that's waiting to be revealed, starting with ourselves? And, Julia, you said that the telepathy tapes working in that project and working on that documentary actually informed this book. Do you want to speak a little bit about that?
Oh, I mean, you can't work with I'm sure everyone here knows, you can't work with non-speakers. You can't be in a relationship with a non-speaker without it changing everything about the way you think. So like,
Yeah.
so like,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can't even trace back. So I started this book like maybe a week after I got the call from Kai saying, "Hey, I know you study exceptional experiences in humans, and there's this group of humans that I'd like you to consider working with, and I'm going to hook you up with a teacher of non-speakers." And I was like, "All right, let's see," you
Yeah.
know. So like about a week after I got that call, before I met with my first non-speaker, I started working on this book. So I
Mm,
don't think that those are
mm,
disconnected experiences.
right.
Um, and throughout the book, um, I could feel this connection that the non-speaking speaker savants that I've worked with talk about, which is this just like knowing,
Hmm.
that's sort of bathed in love.
Mm,
That feels like it's navigating, like it's a compass that helps you navigate or discern the goodness, as you go along. And and
wow.
I just had so many now that I've gotten to know a few non-speakers relatively well and gotten to research sort of the brilliance of their minds, yeah, there's no question there's a relationship. And I don't think it's even helpful to try to figure out the relationship. They didn't write any of these words, but like they don't even write their words either. And neither did I. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's all coming from the same place, right?
Yeah. Right. We're getting it right from source and right from unconditional love,
Yeah,
which is consciousness. And you talk about the conscious universe in a lot of your interviews and work, and the idea that, love. And in this book, it's great because those of you, when you read it, if you haven't yet, you'll see the way Julie's guiding us through the idea that, if unconditional love is what we call consciousness source, that type of thing, and then our mind, and then where is it, translated into the personal? Like you said, this is there's a great line in here. Let me see if I have it. Something like, basically, like, I call this my book because these are the words that came through me, and I like them, and so I'm putting my name on it. But in the sense that, in ancient traditions, when we would say, I don't even own the land, no one could own the land, right? Until we
right.
got into this like messed up, version of things that we're in right now. We don't own, right? And so it's so beautiful in the creative process. Before, I know you and Eric have an important meeting soon, but would you share, just for people that again haven't read this yet, one of the one of the disclosures that you that in that it, I don't know if it inspired this book, but it's in the book, is
The book
about.
inspired it. I didn't know I was going to put this in the book,
Oh,
but writing the book, and then I was like, oh
oh.
crap, now I have to do this whole disclosure of myself. All right.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah.
everybody in here, those of you that study with us and train with us, right, in our programs, that we talk about the book ends up writing you. You kind of get the download of the idea, and then it takes you on a journey. And it's not usually what we think. So, Julia, you were selected for this, talented SOAR program, and where you really, looking back, realized that very likely, if not for sure, this school program was really a way that the government, someone was experimenting with children, looking for psychic abilities, doing different things. So that's the disclosure, a personal disclosure that you share in this book. And we laugh because I was in the tag, talented and gifted version in DC, which was later than yours. And we did not have some of the shenanigans that were going on. Do you want to share anything else about that? Just because that's a
Yeah,
powerful,
just
fascinating thing.
yeah, just really briefly, like I'm sure that it wasn't just a government program.
Right.
Like I'm sure that it was actually very helpful. I really enjoyed my time in
Yeah.
SOAR when I was in the classroom and what they
Yeah.
were doing weird shit to me.
Yeah.
But the other part where they're like doing things and I can't remember what they did in this one
Mm.
room, that's creepy.
Yeah.
And the whole thing, I mean, I'm not surprised that I then become a cognitive neuroscientist who really, really is interested in exceptional human experiences. And then I'm working with non-speaking autistic kids. Um, and all I have to say is that the ethics of the situation where if anyone is working with your kid or anyone you know as a non-speaking autistic kid or any kid who's a protected population, um, I mean, any child is a protected population. The parents need to be having completely informed consent as to what's going on, and the kids need to have complete informed assent, which means they're told about it too, and they agree also.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that the federal government can't decide to come in and do secret studies and stuff, but if the parents demand that they know what's going on with their kids and raise a stink if they don't,
Mhm.
then weird studies like were done on me without, like my parents had no idea.
Right. No idea.
No idea. Except finally they're just like, well, we just think the CIA was studying you, but like we don't understand it. Like,
Like
okay,
again,
yeah,
and
I
and
think so
almost
too.
almost the way in the book you described is also your mother was kind of blasé. Yeah, they were probably running tests on you guys. Like that
Yeah.
was so of that era, but like,
That
yeah,
was not the idea.
some of them.
Like they were in their encounter groups and they're like,
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. And I'm like, I understand. You're doing like Course in Miracles and Est. But like, and this was going on. And it still
Yes.
went on in the 90s and it still went on in the aughts. And I have some friends who
Yeah.
were in the aughts and they were traumatized by this stuff that they were doing at that point.
Yeah.
And I certainly was traumatized by some of the stuff they were doing
Yeah.
to me. And the surveillance that continues for the rest of your life is real.
Right.
So anyway, I wrote about that too. That's
Yes.
my disclosure in there. And then I finally conclude with where we need to be with this is to get it that no matter how evil we think someone is who has done something to us or around us or to our children or around our children, they may be evil, but the only answer is love. The
Yeah.
only answer is to say everyone is doing the best job they can
Yeah.
at the time. No one can do better than that.
Yeah.
No one, including like let's say they were possessed by the devil. Okay, but they
Right.
were doing the best job that they could
In that
being possessed
possession,
by the
they did
devil.
the best job.
Exactly. And it's just like that's all we could do. And so that's why unconditional love exists, is
Yeah.
because that's the reality of human experience. Okay, so with that,
With
I
that,
have
I
to
know you need
go.
to go. And thank you for being here. And we can't wait to see the Telepathy Tapes documentary. And I'm going to walk everyone through everything else about the book and the reviews. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you, everyone. Lots of love.
See you soon.
See
All
you soon.
right. Okay, everybody, if you just jumped on, that was Dr. Julia Mossbridge, who was here talking about how the telepathy tapes work, informed her new book, which is Have a Nice Disclosure. And what I'm going to do now is talk about the strategy of book reviews and book review party. I'm going to tell you more about this book. So if you would like to leave Julia a review, she is aiming, her goal with her publisher is to have 30 reviews by the end of this month period when the book launched. So like in the next, say, 2 weeks. And we would love to be part of helping her reach that goal. If you've already purchased something above $50 on Amazon in the last, I think it's year, you don't have to buy the book to leave a verified Amazon review. We were just looking at the protocol. She's also reduced the book. It's free if you have a Kindle Unlimited account. It's free in the ebook, and then there's $2.99 for anyone else. If she, that's the lowest that Amazon would let her put the book. She tried to make it free for everyone. So it's free if you have Kindle Unlimited, whatever. It's $2.99 if you want to do the ebook at the special pricing she did for our group. And you can also, if you shop on Amazon already, you could leave her an Amazon review, even if you don't want to purchase the book in any form, and still have that count for, toward her 30 reviews. So we're really excited. So let me share, and we'll do some Q&A at the end, but let me just reshare the reason why we do book review parties. We did one for Selena Sue. We did this one. We're doing this one today for Dr. Julia, and I hope those of you watching the replay will leave a review. I would love Julia to text us later and say, "Oh my gosh, we hit our goal," within 48 hours of being with your group, because it just helps her tremendously to have her visibility in the algorithm. So why do reviews matter? So on Amazon, when you publish a book, even though your book will be available in bookstores and all different places, on Amazon, books with 30 plus reviews get pumped up in the algorithm, which means that people searching for anything kind of related to your book's going to show up on that immediate search feed as a book to watch that they're looking for, right? So it's different than going for bestseller campaign and different things. The reviews themselves have one advantage, which is algorithmic preference, right, for our books. And I'm sharing this, and I'm so grateful that you're all here being part of the Monetize Your Book Club and other programs with us, because I want to encourage everyone to do a version of a book review party for your own book, or have someone like I'm doing for Julia host a version of one for you, because it's a way to get a big, nice batch of reviews in a quick amount of time, all in one go. A second reason reviews can be helpful, again, depending on your objectives, is that it just adds a lot of credibility. When someone goes and sees 20 reviews, 30 reviews, 50 50 reviews of a book, positive reviews, obviously, then it just suddenly feels like it's a real book. It's not like, two people have ever read this thing. And when people do, which they have, research studies on how people make purchase decisions about books, the first thing they look at is the cover. Okay. First thing is cover. People make 1.8 seconds. They process a book cover. Is this a book I'm interested in? Is this a topic that makes sense? Do I think this is for me? The next thing they read is on Amazon, in particular, they'll skim the book description, right? And the third purchase decision comes from not even reading reviews, but does it have a 5-star review? Does it have a lot of reviews? Okay. So it's the third most important criteria for people making a purchase decision for your book. So the top 3 reasons that we care about reviews when we have a book are: 1, algorithmic preference, more people are going to see it and buy it. Number 2, credibility. Oh, if someone's even just vetting you as a speaker, whatever, oh, she has a book and a lot of people have reviewed this book. A lot of people are reading this book. I believe this is a legit book. Number 3, that you are, it's the third kind of tripwire in someone making a decision if they're going to read it and buy it. And the fourth reason that I teach is that all of those become social proof and testimonials. So when you do a book commercial, you've probably seen people do this. They'll literally in the background, like you do a little video of your book, you can have the reviews scrolling. You can screenshot the reviews. You can use it in your marketing materials. You can put them on your website. You can put it in your book portal. They are people giving you beautiful social proof for your book, just there in a very legitimized place. Right? When someone reads an Amazon review, if you screenshot in your website or book portal an Amazon book review, and it says something like, this book changed, Carol hears this all the time from her book. This changed my life. I think differently. I had a healing in my family. If you're getting those kind of comments and someone's writing it in a review and someone sees that in Carol's materials, that's different than Carol saying, oh, people love this book, or, even having a client testimony. It's like, it feels very legitimate because Amazon reviews, you'll see in a minute, I'll screenshot, you have to have your review submitted and approved. So people understand it's not just you, not that they would think you're making up your testimonials and things, but it is a third party validated testimonial and social proof. Okay, so 4 reasons why book reviews can be useful. So I'd love to hear in the chat which one of those feels important to you, or more than one of them. Which one of the 4, it's like, oh, this does get me thinking more about inviting people to do reviews, whether you have a book yet or you're writing one, right? How, does one of those, all of them, some of them, just you can put in the chat. Testimonials for social proof, all 4 make sense, Karen. Yep. I like all 4 of them too. Okay. So I'm going to share a little bit more about the book, because if you do feel inspired to leave a review, you obviously need to know what is in it. Julia shared quite a few things. You might like the conspiracy theory. There's so much out there about conspiracies. I'm so excited Julia brought us the concept of an inspiracy. Or maybe you like the idea that from a neuroscientist, that the entire guiding principle of the universe, from what Julia has seen in a research lab, because I've read her research, is that love plays a part in precognition, in telepathy. I'm writing about it. It's what I discovered before I interviewed her. It's in my What is the Science of Miracles? And that unconditional love plays a role in a miracle. It's wild. It's been proven in labs. It's been proven in military research. I've found that it's just been so extraordinary to discover this. I had made up my equation, then met Julie and did the interview for the book. And we realized that we both had this sort of came to the same place, and it was very exciting. So that's why we were, really bonding about it. Okay. So you heard a little bit about the book. She wrote it because she wanted to write something that was about the idea of disclosing to yourself. And if you remember something from your past, like she did, about, God, that always felt so weird about this talented and gifted program I was in, and they were taking us into rooms doing weird experiments, and is that normal? No, no, not really. Right. And so that was a disclosure she got to make about a part of her past. And then what do we do with that? And she does this beautiful piece around imagining from a compassionate place. Compassion is a form of love, right? unconditional love. And from a compassionate place, she actually does a stab at why maybe the government did do those studies. She actually like takes a stab at like why from a compassionate place it might have made sense and might have felt like actually they were even trying to do good. And it was a way to sort of heal her feelings of feeling victimized or traumatized by, these unconsented sort of, processes that were going on there. All right. So those are some of the themes of the book. The idea of many of us are holding things back from conscious awareness because we're scared to face them, right? That's the kind of disclosure we can make to self. The idea of an inspiracy, which is we're going to inspire the truth that's going to create power that doesn't dominate, but actually heals and empowers others. And then just some fascinating stuff about like crazy ass CIA research that was being done apparently in school systems. And obviously we know it's being done in the military. We've had a lot of, declassified studies there, Project Stargate and things like that. Okay. So those are some of the themes in the book. I'm going to read like two little pieces, very short, just a couple quotes. And then I'm going to walk you through how you might want to do a review if you choose to. And obviously today is just about if you want to. But I want to just walk you through the process of how to do one. And even if you want to have AI help you craft a review, so it can be done in about 2 minutes. All right. So let me just look at. It's a very abstract book, just in case you're going to read it. It doesn't really get to her story about the CIA stuff till the end. Bless you, Chandani. And so it's very abstract, kind of neuroscience, physics stuff in the beginning, her kind of mulling over principles and ideas and scientific ideas. And then the more narrative part is towards the end. So that's just something you might want to consider. Let me just look at. And she actually talks a lot about self-care when you want to make a disclosure to yourself and how it's a very tender time, and to be, just talks a lot about how to take care of yourself deeply if you are, making a disclosure about something you might not have been fully aware of or admitted at this time. So here's one of my other favorite quotes. Physics is the science of relationships. I think that's pretty damn cool, right? It's the science of relationships. So we're taking hard science and finding out in the end, it's really about love and it's really about relationships. And that makes sense, right? Because we're talking about quantum entanglement. If you've done any of the physics stuff, if you haven't, come hang out with us on Friday for the download masterclass, and we'll do more. Oh yeah, Chandani, we can talk about it. I don't know if I'm going to answer that right now, just because we can chat. But yeah, glad I would love to let you share on it. Any concerns you have. So let's see, what's another one. So physics is the science of relationships, and I'm going to look for what's another one. Just thinking about things you might want to put in a review if you want to. Yeah, this is kind of cool. So she talks a lot about the fact that disclosures to ourselves are really just healthy releases, like taking out the trash. So we don't sit there and think, "Oh my God, I have to take the trash." We're just like, "Yeah, I use stuff. I eat food that comes in containers. I have, shrapnel from peeling my sweet potatoes, whatever it is, there's trash, right? And I don't think I should keep the trash in the house, and I don't, whatever it is, I take out the trash because I understand that it's no longer useful and I want to move it out of my living space. And so she kind of talks about our disclosures to ourselves in the same way. It's like if there's something in here I've been buried or hidden and I want to, whether it's small or big, and acknowledge it to myself and then take it out to the trash. And so just the idea of like sort of the hygiene of healthy disclosures and looking at our inspiracies. So I thought those were a couple, just comments that I thought were really cool. So let's do the book review thing. And then Chandni, we can talk a little bit more about your question or concern or thought. Okay. So let me show you all. How many of you can put in the chat have done a book review for someone before? So you've done one at some point. Okay, so you're generally familiar. All right, so let's just walk through. So what you can do, and if we can share I think I had it here, the Kindle link. Amy, you shared it before, right? Do you want to share it again to go to Dr. Julia's book? Okay. So on my screen, I do have a Kindle Unlimited thing, so I get it for free. If you don't have that, it would come up as $2.99 when you go to the link of okay. And Amy, is that the one directly just to this? I guess it would go to all her books and just put this one at the top since it was open, just new. Okay, just launched rather. All right, so you're going to go to those of you doing a review. Do you just want to say got it when in the chat you have you have it up on your screen so you can do one in real time? And again, only if you want to do one. Otherwise, you can just watch the process. Okay. Um, all right, so you're going to go to it, and I would just say I want to get the Kindle ebook edition. And obviously I already bought it. So, you know, you're going to purchase it if you want to, or if you have Kindle Unlimited, it's free. Or if you've bought anything, remember on Amazon, if you use Amazon, anything over $50 in the last year, you'll be able to leave a review without purchasing. Okay. So let's just say you want to leave a review, whether you're purchasing or not. So you'll scroll down and you will go to, oh, where did I, because I already did mine. So I just want to make sure it's going to come up on mine. Otherwise, we'll have to look at on Amy because I left one for her already. It might be we might need to look at it on your screen to show where we can leave a review. Hold on one second. Sometimes it moves around. Okay, if you go down and scroll down to reviews, here's where it's going to be. All the way to the bottom, you're going to see customer reviews. There's 5 out of 5. You'll see mine. You'll see the first 2, 3 of us that got an advanced copy. Okay. And then what you're going to do is look for the button that says write a customer review. So review this product, write a customer review. Okay. And so you'll click on that. And then again, I wrote mine already. So this is where you're going to put in your review, whatever you want to share. You can have your name or not have your name. It'll let you choose. Edit public name if you don't want to. And then you will submit your review and it'll say, review pending. And you can title the review here. I wrote fascinating and illuminating. You can write a review, in the code. You don't have to put a title. You can just put comments and you can pick how many stars that you want to give it. Okay. So that's just the process. You scroll down, customer reviews, click on write a review. You can pick a title or just a comment, and you can put that right there into the chat and then hit submit. Now, I want to show you if you're interested. Put R in the chat. Any of you that are going to are thinking about leaving a review. So I know, Julie, was it not coming up at $2.99 for you?
Well, the way it shows it is like the ebook or 2.99, but I'm just, sorry, the lawyer in me. I just need to I want to read it. So I'd like
Yeah,
to
of course.
get it. I don't mind buying it at the full price, but I don't see it as an option.
Did you didn't, it's not saying ebook $2.99 for you?
Maybe let me play with it. I'm gonna mute
Yeah.
my
Yeah,
music.
yeah. Just see if you can find it and we can, yeah. Okay. You can't go to regular Amazon.com. You have to go to Amazon.com.ebooks. Okay, good to know. There we go. All right, thanks, Amy. All right, so what you can do if you want to is I'll demo this. Let me pull up ChatGPT. Okay. So just to show you for fun, because if you get asked to write a lot of book reviews, this is also, I want to model for you how you can help people leave you reviews for your book, right? That's what we're kind of modeling here. So it's about, we're using Dr. Julia's right now as the example, but this is if you're hosting a book review party, or even if you just prepare a short video for people, how to make a review easy. So you want to give them the exact link to the page of that one book. You want to show them on screen how to scroll down and find where to leave the review. And then what you can do is invite them to say something here. You've got your chat box, and you could say, "Hi, chat. I'd like to leave a positive review for Dr. Julia Mossbridge on her new book. Have a nice disclosure. Disclosure. Okay. Have a nice disclosure. Now, if AI knows you, we're going to test this, okay? Because I didn't use AI to write mine. I just wrote one. But let's just test it based on everything you know about me and my work and what you read about Julia's new book. Please suggest a short, compelling Amazon review. Okay, let's just see what it comes up with. I haven't tried this in real time, but this is what you can help your people do. It's like after they've read it, they can pick a favorite quote. What I could have told Chad is, here were my 3 favorite quotes after having read the book. And then I could, tell it to put that into a review form. Okay, so I'm going to read this out loud and we can see what we think. In this deeply insightful work, Julia Mossbridge masterfully bridges rigorous science with soulful vision, inviting readers not just to learn, but to remember. As someone who partners with leaders in organizations shaping legacies, I found this book timely and transformational. Mossbridge's exploration of intuition, consciousness, and disclosure isn't about predicting the future. It's about coming alive to what's already true. It offers practical tools for releasing fear, deepening compassion, and stepping into your most authentic impact. For anyone committed to generational change, meaningful enterprise, or simply living with greater awareness, this is a must read. Okay. So what do we think? Let's just so this is an example of how you can, and then I could do the audio. Let's see what it does. Hi, chat. I like this a lot. Let me also just give you a couple of my favorite quotes from the book. And if you could weave that in so it's even more specific for readers. One favorite quote is, physics is actually the science of relationships. Another one is Dr. Julia's idea, her theory of inspiracy, instead of being focused on conspiracies and people doing awful things. What is the inspiracy, which is the thing I can disclose to myself with love and inspiration, that once I know the truth will empower me more as a human being. And I also am crazy about the idea that she defines the real connective consciousness of the entire universe is love, that a neuroscientist has come to that conclusion based on research in a lab is really exciting to me. So if you could incorporate that. Okay, so this is what you're giving your people when they've read your book or they've read a piece of your book. If they feel comfortable writing a review after reading a section of it, this is a way that you can show them how they could say their favorite quotes, just speak it into the chat, and then have it leave a much more personal review, right? Because now I've said some of my favorite concepts in the book. Okay, so I won't read this whole thing, but we can see how this is more, that this is more personal because it's based on what I took from the book and the things that I really liked. So it's going to be more unique than just something the GPT is going to write up as a review, right? So I just want to stop there and open it up for questions about doing book reviews, doing a book review party, having questions about just what are the importance of reviews. Let's just open it up for some Q&A so you can ask anything that you have, or of course about, the book itself. Yeah, Kate.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
A quick question about do you always offer them a gift for doing it? Like I'll send you a free blah 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 or a free meditation, or what's sort of the impulse to get them to do something like that?
Yeah, so I'm so glad you asked this question. So to be in alignment ethically with Amazon, we never want to give any kind of a straight gift for review because that sounds like we're buying reviews, right? Now, what the workaround that is an integrity for me, so you get to decide, is inviting people to a book review party and giving everyone at the book review party a gift for coming to your event, and then saying no one here is under any obligation to write a review nor buy the book. And that way, anyone who does choose to leave one is is someone who is very much like choosing it of their own volition, and you're in integrity around Amazon's policies, which I think are good policies, right? We don't want to pay for reviews, right? There are companies who will help get your book in front of people that will leave reviews that we can invest in, right? And that Amazon's fine with that because that's really about getting your book in front of more people. It's a marketing, piece. But Kate, I'm so glad you asked that question. Now, in terms of what could we offer people, I mean, I've done all kinds of things. Like, so I might say, if you come to our book review party for the download, I'm going to lead everyone through a brain activation, and everyone who comes is going to get my new download, sleep hypnosis, so that you can get downloads while you sleep in your dreams. And I'd love to gift that to everyone who comes and to our book review party. I'm not saying everyone who leaves a review, because that would be incentivizing the review, but comes to the party, or who considers, leaving. You could say who considers leaving a review, that kind of thing. So just to be in integrity first and foremost to ourselves, and also, with Amazon. But it could be anything. It could be a resource, a video, like a Starbucks gift card. I mean, the sky's the limit, right? It's like whatever you could do. I think a fun thing at book review parties is to do prizes. So you can do drawings for things. So it's like everyone who comes to the party, or everyone who brings people to the party, we're going to have you win a signed copy of the book, or you're going to win a session with me, or you're going to win, those of you that offer things like that. So there could be all kinds of things. And Kate, does that help? Like, think about what we might want to do. Okay.
Yes,
Awesome.
it does. Thank you, Sarah.
Yay. Great question. Thank you so much. Anyone else have a question about, yeah, Carol?
Not so much a question, but I'm definitely doing this on my next book. I didn't do it. I mean, I had a party, but I didn't have a book review party, and I didn't ask. And
Neither did I, Carol.
Jane
I
was
know.
in charge of doing the, best-selling campaign, whatever. So fascinating. I missed something about the inspiracy.
Yeah.
It's not clicking. Inspiracy is revealing to ourselves something that happened that we've been blind to, that we have not been admitting.
Right. So it can be something we have been either ignoring, that's sort of trying to get our attention, or it could be even like in my case, those of you, that know I have a history of sexual assault as a child. Like, I didn't really consciously have a lot of memory details of those experiences until I went and had an acupuncture session when I moved to England. It was probably a confluence of many reasons why those memories were able to come out very crisply at that time, because I was not geographically near where the incidents happened. I was, there was a million reasons probably why that disclosure to myself came at that time. The inspiracy is, think, if I'm understanding her correctly, and you guys can read the book and go back, the disclosure to ourself is the thing either that we haven't been super conscious of, or maybe we know but we haven't dealt with, and suddenly it's like, oh, it's time. I get to disclose to myself that this actually is holding me back, or this is an issue, or this is whatever. So that's the disclosure, like the self-disclosure. We all get that, right?
Right.
I think that she's talking about inspiracy from the standpoint of there's so much focus right now, especially at this moment in history, on all the pings, people having secret agendas, and the government doing this, and the leadership. And I mean, you can't get through a day without hearing a conspiracy theory. So what she's inviting people to do is, what if we took our attention for a hot second off all the conspiracy stuff, and we actually went within and let an inspiracy happen between integrating the things that we need to disclose to ourselves that we maybe haven't, the things that we already know are true power. So it's like, it's an invitation to stop looking at all the doom scrolling in the world, and to actually create an inspiracy, an inspired movement within ourselves about goodness, is really what she's getting at. She's directing the inspiracy idea. So it's abstract, right? It's not super, super like an inspiracy is defined in this way. I'll have to reread that section to get it. But I like the energy of what she's talking about there. If we take our attention off all the horror stories, what everyone else is doing, look within, and what can we integrate and heal by disclosing to ourselves, like what we haven't let be in the light yet, and then let that inspire our power in the world.
Great. And her sentence about you're quoting her sentence about love is great. That's enough for me to do a review around.
And that's just it. You can decide, like, some of you feel like, I want to read the whole thing and then decide if I feel like leaving a review. Totally understandable. Some of you might feel like, I got a gem and just want to leave a review about, I love the idea, this piece about love coming from a scientist is so heartwarming in an age when everyone is saying the world's gone to hell and we're screwed. Yeah,
Right. Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Julie, do you want to ask about the unconditional
Yeah,
love?
I just want to understand that more. Like I love Carol that that's what you attach to because
Yeah.
I did the same. So like for me is like where's the healing through the love
Yeah.
and how does that you were talking about it briefly with her.
Yeah. So a lot of just because I've been immersed in all this quantum physics stuff and talking to a lot of Julie's peers and stuff too, right? You have the type of science many of us were taught, depending on what kind of education we had, that's materialist science, right? Traditional science that just says we're atoms and molecules, anything else that happens that's called qualia, like thoughts, feelings, emotions, even mystical experiences, things we would call, transcendent, all are a product of our brain, right? That's the materialist point of view, which is, again, there's, in my book, it's like, there's no rights and wrongs, just like, that's one worldview. And then there's another worldview that there is a unifying consciousness. There is a way that transcends our physical bodies. It transcends our brains. We are more than matter. We are connected to and all pervasive. We can call it source, universe, God, whatever, all different traditions, we call different names, but the idea that there is a unifying force. And that's where science and spirituality have come together over the last decades is really this idea in quantum physics that's suggesting the idea of a fundamental consciousness. What Julia is saying in this book, which I think is super cool, is that not only does she believe from research done in laboratory settings and peer-reviewed research that there is a unifying consciousness, but that the unifying consciousness is unconditional love itself. And that is the primary fundamental consciousness versus just there's a source, there's a field. There's lots of ways to look at a unifying consciousness. It could be the field of all information, like the Akashic record. It could be a lot of things. And so she's really getting at that unconditional love is the primary fundamental basis of reality. It's the connective tissue. It's here before, during, and after this physical lifetime. It's what can let us be So, and what I'll just say, this is briefly, she probably mentions it for one sentence in this book, but it's in a lot of her other interviews and work, is that in a lab setting, this just makes me go totally wild because it's so what I believe already. If people are doing precognition studies, okay, so how you would do a precognition study is you would have people in a room, windowless, soundless room, and try to guess, essentially, try to feel into and intuit, predict something they're going to be shown. It could be a video, it could be a symbol, it could be a number. This is just how they do precognition and type of studies in a lab. So it's like, oh, in a few minutes, you're going to be shown something on a card. What do you think's on that card, right? And so instead of random guessing is going to get you right, depending on how many options there are, a certain percentage of the time. If it's either heads or tails, you'll be right 50 whatever percent of the time. If it's from a whole deck of 54 playing cards, that's a different statistic. So there's statistics of how much we could just as human beings guess. And so what they study in precognition research is, are there ways that people could way above statistical probability predict what's going to be on that card or on that video? So this is what they study. And then if they find, which they have many times over, that humans have the ability, not every human uses it or, tunes into it, but humans have the ability to way more than is statistically average. In fact, it's 10 billion to 1 are the statistics. It's insane averages to be able to predict certain videos or images or symbols. If that's true, what makes us as humans able to tap into that capability? No one really cares about picking a video or a symbol or a number, but if you could predict how to save yourself from a car accident or, help someone in need, that could be a very useful thing to tap into, right? But they have to study it in a lab in some way. But what they found, and here's the unconditional love part, is that when there was a true feeling of love or a need driven by love, and I'll give examples, people's precognition abilities went up enormously. this is what I think is unique about her work versus everybody else that studies this stuff that I've found, right? That's why I interviewed her for my book. Okay. So think about this for a second. So let's say someone has been shown to, in those lab studies, be way better than statistically average at predicting something or finding something in a remote location, right? That's like remote viewing. And suddenly a child in their community is missing. And that person is able to get an image of where that child might be, and this has happened many times. The person who even has the raw capacity for precognition, it's going to spike dramatically if there is a love-based need, like I love children and I care and I don't want any child to come to harm, and so their accuracy goes up. Same way, if even a parent and child are playing with precognition, then there's a love between them. And one of them senses, if you're just playing around, like if I was doing this with my son for just to see, like, hey, let's check our precognition skills, we will have a higher percentage of accuracy when we are doing that with each other, if we're working toward a common goal because we love each other, than if I'm in a room with a random stranger just doing precognition, right? So love is actually, in a scientific way, playing a role in outcomes. And this is true in telepathy studies, remote viewing studies. This is just what people can measure in science experiments. So that's why they do these kind of what they're called, what are the things called? Like, there's a name for this type of study where you're just predicting, symbols or numbers or whatever it is. But it's just because they have something they have to measure in a peer-reviewed, research-based process that can be verified in the normal scientific method, right? Otherwise, in the real world, though, you can see evidence where people who are accurate a lot of the time. One last story on this, Julie, that I thought was really cool. This is not from Julia's work. It's from Angela Ford, who was in Project Stargate in the CIA. And she was hired by the CIA as basically like a psychic spy and a remote viewer. And when she would be asked just to randomly, again, figure out, predict this or find this piece of paper or what's on this folder in Kazakhstan while you're in Washington, D.C., right? She had a certain level of statistical accuracy. But when a hostage went missing, it's going to make me cry. Like when someone was in need, like she was able to find a guy's location and the military plans all said there's nothing there. There's nothing there. There's no military base. There's no civilization. It was in the middle of the woods in the Middle East somewhere. And she kept saying, all I can tell you is what I see. And they found him in a shed that the opposing army had built in that place for this guy with nothing, and they got him back. So it's like, because she cared, right? It's love, universal love for each other. So it really moves me, just the way that this is, that there's like science-based evidence showing that, yeah, we all know it probably, but it's pretty cool to see science, do it. So great question. Yeah, Dev's liking that too. I love it. Any other, Chandani, talk to us about your thought about concerns when there's, I don't know enough about it, who's watched the telepathy tapes, and obviously it's very controversial, right? If you haven't listened to the telepathy tapes podcast, which is on season 2 now, the documentary that Dr. Julia's in isn't out until the spring, but there's 2 seasons of the podcast out now. And it's very controversial because they're working with non-speaking autistic people and their teaching aides or parents in terms of, techniques like how they're communicating with spelling, with assistance and things. So it's a lot of stuff around it. There's all kinds of stuff all over the internet about, Kai Dickens, who founded the show and hosts the show, has, there's been all kinds of response. People love it. People hate it. People have have fears about it, have concerns. So Chandni, tell us a little bit about what you were asking.
It got me nervous, I guess, because I have a child on the spectrum and
yeah,
I'm just going through the process now. And so I'm curious if it's a concern today.
Well, It could be like, right. We don't have any, you know what I mean? Like it's an important thing to discuss. Like those of us that have children either on the spectrum, neuroatypical, or are just concerned in general. So I think it's a really important, I wanted to give it a proper breathing space, like where we, I mean, so first of all, you know, there's no, there's no, I think I think for whether it's the telepathy tapes or in this book, Julia's not talking about anything except what happened to her as a child being experimented on without her own or her parents' consent, which is horrific. And she speaks to that very directly in this and like what she feels like is moral around any type of research, that's working with people. So she addresses that just from her own experience of, being the child in that situation. And so I think I think that first of all, there's no, anyone might feel like the telepathy tapes is immoral or they don't like it or they might not like this kind of a book that's even talking about, again, she's not actually talking about any of that type of research except maybe referencing that her heart opened more around, that, but she was talking about in this, like her own experience on the receiving end, which was traumatic to her, by the way, right? Chandani, to your point, because it wasn't consensual. And so do you want to say more about, what comes up for you around just this conversation around this book too? I mean, the telepathy tapes is its own whole universe as well.
No, I just think it was thought provoking,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm definitely interested in reading it now, and learning more about that because I'm new to, my child is young, and so we
Yeah,
learned it new, so it's all very new to me. So
for sure.
just stopped me in my tracks. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Julie,
Yeah, and I just was going to add one thing. So y'all may not know this about me, but in my prior life of 30 years, I don't know, Shani, we discussed it in New York or not, but part of my expertise is in the area of students with exceptionalities. And she made me feel like kind of what she was saying was like, so as we channel and connect to the divine, which some of us do or otherwise, that she also had that connection on the nonverbal side, right? In some ways, the way I heard it, right, which again is a different space, is that sometimes I have intuitive understandings of what people are not saying, but what their nonverbals are saying, right?
Yep.
So for me, maybe if you can look at it in that space, it's not so much playing like voodoo or whatever with the child or what might be in their mind, but what really connecting in spirit, like on a much more divine space up to what, I don't know, Amy, how that lands with you either, but like, what's going on internally, right? Like that's how I heard it, right? Like it was like more of like that nonverbal, clairaudient
Yeah.
space of what may be in spirit as well as with the nonverbal, because in the spectrum, it really is found that so many of the children are actually brilliant. And the connection and trying to understand what's going on inside is so much more vast than
Yeah.
humans have been able to understand.
Yeah.
So, for me, I think it could be reframing it like as a coach, it could be honoring the child in the deepest way for the deepest level of heart and intelligence
Yeah.
coming through love. So it's just, I kind of heard it through her in a very different way, like that. It was very interesting for me, from that perspective.
I know Chadney had to jump off, but thank you, Julie, so much for that perspective. And Amy, obviously with your son, it's just what you're seeing in your home. And remember, right now, the second season in the telepathy tapes is not about just non-speakers. It's about all of us, how we are able to connect beyond the physical. And Kate, this is your work about, it's actually a capability that we all possess and just sort of and I think a lot of us work in different versions of this space. And I was told, and I shared this with Julia when I was getting psychologically tested without my consent for the or I think my parents did know that there was an entrance exam when I switched from Catholic school. We'll go in a minute, but when I switched from Catholic school to public school in going into sixth grade, they sent all the kids to a psychiatrist for an evaluation, and it was just told like you just had to do it. And so it was a traumatizing experience for me because the psychiatrist told me that I was severely learning disabled. They didn't use neuroatypical at the time, but that's like what they would have said to me. But I didn't have any context. It wasn't anything. It was just in the middle of the test. And he was like, "Oh, you're severely learning disabled." And I'd had straight A's in school. I'd never had an issue. Like I had no idea I didn't understand those words. It wasn't words I knew. And that were especially at that time, and And it was really interesting. And he said, "Oh, well, you're in the talented and gifted program. I mean, you're in, but your brain just isn't normal and it doesn't work right." And so it was like, this is the kind of thing where I think what really, and I did, I've always, like Julie, like you, I hear things that no one's saying constantly. That's been since I was like, I don't even think that's abnormal. That's like normal to me. But so it's like all the time. But in the context of the way our patriarchal education system is set up to pathologize some things and reward normal, what I like, and this is just personal opinion, no one needs to agree at all. What I like about the telepathy tapes and work like this is that it shows us there's no normal it's a made up thing that was done in a very limited context versus where are we all gifted? And like, how can we bring out those gifts? And I learned to reframe and redo a story about my brain, that it's a super brain and that it's awesome because actually it is. I just learned different ways of doing stuff. I mean, and that's what Julie said, the irony that he's like, "Oh, you got in the program, you're talented, but like, but your brain isn't right, It's like, according to whom, right? Right. And so, but that's what we get to change. I think with some projects like this, also respecting everyone's worldview, and you may, completely disagree on any particular show, book, whatever. So thank you. Thank you all for coming today, for doing, did we learn something? Or do people feel like, did you feel like there's something that we learned about book reviews? I'll just stop the recording there so that can process. Do you feel like this was useful in terms of reminding, like Carol now is like, I'm going to do a book review party. We didn't teach them before we had the Monetize Your Book Club. I never thought about it until I realized, wait, why aren't we doing these? It's so
way
helpful.
to support each other. I mean, it's a brilliant way, and
Yes.
to mirror it now as we're launching our own books, So,
Exactly.
and I would just say the biggest lesson, my biggest takeaway, which is not having to do with anything personal, is the benefit. I have a ring that I wear that I don't have on that says
Yeah.
unconditional love in Aramaic because it's copied. My friend
Oh,
gave me for my birthday not that just very recently. But it's the idea that that's the tapestry of the interconnection is really a beautiful image of the idea of this conspiracy. So that would be my takeaway.
yeah.
I
And I
think
might be making up my version of what she meant by it, but I got a lot out of it as an idea. So,
thank you.
yeah. Thank you all. Yeah, Amy, not to be shy about asking. We get to ask for reviews for each other, and that's what we're here for in our work. Yes. Yes. Okay, beautiful. Awesome. Thank you everyone for joining us. Tomorrow is our full day book workshop. If you feel like coming to that, that is our Write a Book That Starts a Movement. If you feel like that would be inspiring. And then Friday noon Eastern is the download masterclass. We're going to do some gamma training and have a really great time there, getting these extra sensory abilities woken up and at the forefront. So I will see you all hopefully for one of those soon. Bye, everybody.